Welcome to Ireland's Homes, Interiors and Living magazine podcast, a series where we talk to industry insiders about all things home, property and renovation. Today we are joined by Neil Norton. Neil is the director of his design business, based in both Wimbledon and Kerry in Ireland. Welcome, Neil. I'm really excited to talk to you today. One of the home projects you recently worked on is our cover feature for our June issue. And so thank you for joining us to talk a little bit more about that project today.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you, Sarah.
Neil, can we start first of all just a little bit about yourself and your background, your route into interior design, what that looked like for you?
Yeah, started at a really early age, really, to be honest. I mean, I've always been interested in art and design from early school age, and my first job when I left school really was cabinetry. I was offered a few jobs before leaving school. One was joinery, one was a cabinet maker, and another one was an art gallery. I remember saying to my dad, what shall I do? I love all three. And he said, go with your heart, son, and I ended up working in an art gallery for 6 years, doing restoration, calligraphy, wash line mounts. So my job there, for instance, would have been looking at a watercolour or an oil painting and bringing out the most in that painting by creating colours that would link to that particular image, and the same for specialist framing and calligraphy. So it was always something I've enjoyed doing, and I was good at it. I used to sell my own paintings on a little market stall on the weekend. It's always been there really. Moved to London and then got into graphic design, furthermore onto cabinet making with a few different companies, and sort of cut my teeth working with a couple of high-end interior design companies, and did that for a period of pretty much about another 6 years. Even though I work for bespoke companies, none of them are really truly bespoke, because they were bigger companies, so they wouldn't want, for instance, to change the wheel so much on everything you do. They want to simplify it and keep it, and there's bigger volumes and stuff going on. They don't want too many mistakes. But that caused me a problem because I couldn't be creative. So I then set up my own Neil Norton Design then, and that was it. Off I went.
At present, Neil, the services that you offer at your Neil Norton Design business, can you tell us a little bit about the strands that form what you do?
Yeah, of course. So typically, we have a showroom in Wimbledon Park, which is kind of backing on to the Wimbledon tennis. We work a lot with interior designers directly. So, for instance, an interior designer will come to us with a set of drawings or a CGI of a particular sort of design they've come up with. But then we'll come up with the technical know-how and how to make it and pull that right through from concept to installation. And then we obviously have our own showroom, so people, we have traffic coming past, and people will come in and they'll think that we just do kitchens, but we're so much more than that. We started off in just doing kitchens, and then we do home office, cinema rooms, vanity cabinets, wardrobes. There's so much more. There's no particular style, let's say. A lot of it comes from my gut instinct of what I like and what I've sort of tailor-made to suit myself. Sort of a crystal style cabinet, which I call a modern take on a classic. I've seen classic kitchens done time and time again. There's lots of people doing that sort of thing. But it's always, I'm trying to push the boundaries constantly, coming up with new ideas and, involving sort of companies like Buster and Punch for handles and stuff, which we love, and their lighting and stuff as well. So we work with them as well. Among other brands as well, we work with.
I was going to ask you, Neil, actually, with offices in Wimbledon,
Yeah.
in London, and here in Ireland too, how does that affect some of the client briefs that you have coming through? Do you see that like I was doing some research ahead of our interview. One of the lead images on your website is this beautiful, what I think of as it's a very London kitchen, and I loved it. And then equally our cover home for June, it's completely different, and I love that equally too. Two very different styles. I wouldn't necessarily attribute them immediately to the same design team. Can you talk to us a little bit about how location inspires or influences the projects that you work on?
You're making the most out of the furniture, so you're not losing any sort of cabinetry space, and that's typically in most projects. But More so in London because it's properties are the townhouses in London and Fulham and Chelsea and so on. They're not as big as they are in Ireland in some cases. So, you've got to take that into consideration because the volume of furniture can drive costs as well. But also the style of it, for instance, the materials that we use, the amount of materials, the worktops, the appliance brands as well. They're all sort of three main points of designing a furniture, the worktop, the appliances and the cabinetry. Typically, we'll try to introduce a natural look to it as well. It's not to be too clinical and being very contemporary because I think that's a shelf life on it really. If it's too clinical, then it's, even if it's handles or lighting or anything like that, you can always tell the date of something is going out of date maybe after a couple of years. So it's all about being clever and hiding sort of details like lighting, even appliances. I try to make the furniture look like a really special piece of furniture rather than a kitchen.
Yeah.
And that's the key to what I do really. It's not making it look like a kitchen so much as really the appealing piece of furniture. In the London projects, you tend to have more of an open plan view, and have a kitchen, living space all in one, dining. Where in Ireland we have more space.
Yes, the luxury of a little bit more space, hey?
Yeah.
You're at the June cover home in Kerry. The pictures by Philip Lauterbach are absolutely stunning. The home, it looks amazing. The location, everything about this home is beautiful. Can you tell us a little bit about how you initially met this client and their brief to you and how that process began?
Yeah, so they approached me actually. They knew I had a cabinet making business, and they were more or less looking for an interior design, someone to help them throughout their project. And for me, I looked at it and I knew exactly what to do with it straight away. I can just take a walk around the place and see, just with the experience, how to approach it. And I think they interviewed two other interior designers as well, and myself, and it was clear to them that they wanted to work with me. And it was a case of bringing in materials from Italy as well, like tiles and crystal doors and stuff like that, to really open it up and not have, like, for instance, in the entrance hall we come in just a single door into the living space. I took it right up to the ceiling and created these lovely double doors, which were open, bifold open as well. So nice entrance.
And what inspired overall, like as you walked into it for that first time, what do you feel inspired some of the choices that you made in the project and the materials chosen?
Yeah, listen, it's really about sitting down and getting to know the client first and understanding what they want and what makes, what they, his wife, she swims in the sea on a daily basis. It's just across the way, and she loves the nature of the rocks and the sea and everything there. So you kind of building up, I'm always building up a picture in my mind, asking, I'll give them I'll get a design brief by doing a questionnaire almost with them. But I'm also building up a picture in my mind of what they like and dislikes as well. Is important to know what way to take it. So, I use a lot of reclaimed timbers that I source myself, and that was key. I think it kind of gives a natural feeling to it as well as you've got the nice painted finishes which are crisp, but then the natural wood, it's you can't imitate it. It's reclaimed, it's oak, it's aged. It's beautiful.
I know in interior design we all buzz about bringing the outside in. It's, everyone says it, but I really felt with this home that the materials used really did reflect that in a very honest and true way.
Yeah.
Drawn to, as you say, the use of that timber in such a contemporary kind of way that, the wall space, the glass, everything else blurred back, and you were just left with the outdoors, this beautiful scenery beyond the windows, and then that reclaimed timber to kind of, I think it's a cabinet, isn't it, beneath the television in the main living space. It's just such a lovely shot. Can you tell us a little bit about what you did with the outside space? Like there's a decked area beyond those windows. How did you kind of work to kind of blend the two?
Yeah, so I sourced these big 120 by 120 tiles, which are like a concrete finish with a very fine bright line, basically, so it's almost seamless. So my intention was to bring that from the back garden all the way through the ground floor, and then out onto the driveway as well. So, you know, we use much heavier tile for that. But that in itself just creates a nice base. You know, I think of things of painting a picture, you know, and it's almost, you know, you're looking at the biggest mass of colour would be that one floor, you know, and then you're building up on top of that. So the outdoors was just really to keep it simple and usable, and you know they've got a couple of cars they need to park on the driveway. They've also got an outdoor shower because she likes to use the sea. And then the back garden was just really somewhere you can open one of the ground floor bedrooms and just go out and sit and have coffee and catch some sun rays and stuff.
The stone, I know it was the splashback in the kitchen. Can you tell us a little bit about the story behind that? It's really attention grabbing in a beautiful, beautiful way.
It's a Patagonia marble. It comes from Patagonia, and I also would backlight it as well. So with backlighting, typically you'll always only see the surface of a stone because that's all you'll see. But when you put lighting through it, and if you use dynamic white, so it's going from cool to warm, so you're going to get the daylight colours as well, and you shine that all the way through the stone, it comes to life. You know, it just creates another atmosphere. It's something we do a lot with marbles and onyxes and different stones. But again, it's very natural, and it's a real showstopper, you know.
Yeah, it's one of those details I think as a homeowner you would never stop loving.
Yeah.
So can you tell us, Neil, about any challenges that you were faced with throughout the process, the design process and into the execution of it all, really? Like, any challenges and how did you go about overcoming them?
So I took on the project sort of after the architect had sort of submitted drawings and stuff. So from that point of view, there was already a builder involved. Challenges I had really was different regulations for electrics in Ireland and in the UK, a little bit, which has changed. So I do my own detailed service drawings. And typically I'm one to be hiding all the surface sockets and fuse spares and all that kind of thing, because you don't want a load of sockets on that nice piece of marble, you know. And those are the little battles I had to have with electricians and stuff like that. But apart from that, everyone was... in the beginning, they didn't see the bigger picture, you know. But as this started to see what I was capable of, they kind of, you know, tipped their hat and carried on.
We've talked a little bit about your offices in London and here in Ireland. All of your cabinetry, am I right in saying, is made in Tralee in the workshop? So tell me a little bit about how that works. Like, are there logistical challenges that you face, you know, taking this from Ireland over to London and the rest of the UK?
It was never really a logistical issue. It was more to do with myself and my wife. We lived in London, and then we moved back with our two young children to Ireland. So for me to do only weekends at home wasn't really working, so I moved to workshop, and that meant I was able to do a week on, week off, either side. You get a much bigger workshop in Ireland than you would in London for your money, so to speak. But also, you know, there's such great talent in Ireland. You know, I mean, I know it personally because I come from here. But
and how important, Neil, do you think it is to nurture these creative industries here in Ireland for kids out there thinking, I want to get into creative industries, whether that is actually the workmanship kind of side of things, design kind of side of things? How important is it that we nurture these?
You know, I don't necessarily always look for someone who's got a design or sales background in any sense of that way. I'll always take someone on who's got an artistic talent. The young lady works for us on social media. She's got her own, she's a singer as well, so she's very creative. I think if you're creative in any way, you're going to always strive to continue being creative. You know, it's not something you can teach. You've either got it or you haven't. But in terms of tradesmen and understanding, a lot of tradesmen will understand how to do the job, but they'll not understand how to put it together. Anyone can cut a piece of wood. Not everyone can put it into, you know, a fine piece of furniture. So, I mean, from that point, it's very important to have the colleges teaching them the right processes. And I mean, digital era that we're in, it makes it so much easier, you know. We went through a long period of time of just manufacturing everything by hand. but that became so labour intensive it wasn't feasible. So we had to introduce CAD drawings and CNC machinery and stuff like that. But also keeping the function that it is truly bespoke. So there's nothing's too difficult.
So Neil, you mentioned there that you divide your time between London and Ireland. So when it gets to a weekend at home here in Ireland, what does downtime look like to you? How do you recharge?
Taking my son to football, really. I get told where I need to be at what time, but that's pretty much it. Yeah, just spend time with the family. When I'm here the week at a time, it's more family time.
Yeah.
And when I'm away, it's work. I'm working, but it works. A week at a time, it works nice.
It's clear that you're so genuinely passionate about being as creative as you can be in your projects. What to this day, what still inspires you? Where do you look to for your inspiration? Not maybe for a particular project, but just in the day to day, what inspires you and keeps you motivated?
I look at everything. It's not really one thing, so to speak. Nature is the best designer of it all. And you'll sometimes see things. You might be staring at something for a bit too long, and you're thinking the cogs are going in your head. You're thinking of something else, really. In terms of design, but colors, and obviously being a male, I'll choose male colors and stuff like that. Whereas, with an interior designer, they'll have a bit more of a feminine color choice and stuff like that. I'll learn from that side of it quite a lot, actually, and how people sort of run a thread through a house of one color, for instance, or I have a bit more of an eclectic taste.
And Neil, can you tell us what's coming next for your business? Any exciting projects coming up? Or I know when we spoke on the phone recently, you were talking about another workshop opening here in Ireland.
Yeah,
what's coming?
Opening up a manufacturing in Armagh, which is close to my home where I'm from. Sort of servicing Dublin market a bit more and a bit closer to the UK. But also, as I say, you've a bit more pool of talent in that surrounding area for trade. Yeah, I mean, it's the idea is to build on what we've already got, and improve and make it a bit bigger.
Neil, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been lovely to learn a little bit more about the story behind that beautiful project, and to learn a bit more about your business too. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. Thank you so much.